What's up, guys? Joey here with Off the Left. I have a quick lesson for you guys today. A couple people have been asking me about modulations and if I could write some kind of small little primer or something to help with their modulation accuracy, right? So this exercise, it's very simple. You have two counts, which is just eighth notes. And then you have two ghost notes where you're going to sub in A, B, C, or D into those counts and make sure that you're using the eighth notes before it to kind of calibrate the next two counts, whether or not it's a little bit faster, moderately faster, or a lot faster than the eighth notes, right? Here we go. Let's just go through pattern A, all 6 variations. Also piano. Pattern 5 now, full roll. 1, 2. Piano. Tap roll. All right, let's go through pattern B now. All 6 variations. Here we go. Let's go through pattern C with all 6 variations as well. This one, you do have a mechanical change on count 4. Count 4 of each hand is going to rebound into the next hand, right? We're going to stay under the bead. We're going to get a nice crank back to whatever we're trying to get to, whether it's mezzo forte, forte, whatever it is. There is a small rebound into that, right? Here we go. Cool, last pattern, we're gonna go through pattern D, 16th notes. We're priming 16th note 9-stroke rolls. Yes, off of the left hand as well. That's why we're called off the left, right? It's difficult. You got to push through it. If you can't play it at this tempo, you got to slow it down and start priming it at the slower tempos first. Cool, a couple notes for the first exercise we just went over. Make sure that as you're doing this, you're always relating the modulation back to what it felt like against the eighth note, right? We're putting that eighth note in there because it's a great way to calibrate the modulation coming immediately after, right? I would know, okay, eighth notes are pretty easy to keep in time because you have the right hand going or the left hand going on the downbeat, whatever hand you're on. Right, whatever you're doing. Now the fivelet, it's good to note that it's just a hair faster than eighth notes, right? Just a little bit, so you don't need to mechanically change too much. When you get to the triplet though, your right hand goes from quarter notes to triplet quarter notes. Right? So whatever you're attaching to it, be it flams, be it rolls, you're going to have to account for that mechanically. It is a little quicker, so especially if you're doing rolls, you're going to have to move this just a little bit more than you probably did in the fivelets, right? Okay, and then when you get to the 9-stroke rolls, you definitely got to do something mechanically different than everything else before, right? You're going to have to move these larger muscle groups back here just a little bit more. Just a little bit, right? So again, whether you're putting flams on it, whatever it is, always think back to the eighth notes and how the eighth notes feel, and then determine how much more energy you got to put out against the eighth notes, right? Like I said, fivelets, a little bit faster. Not much, just a little bit faster. Don't need to change much. Triplets, it's kind of like right in the middle between 9s and 5s. Moderate amount of energy. 9s, you got to put a lot out, right? Cool, so that's the first part of the exercise. We're just really quickly going to go through the second half of the exercise so you guys have a way to prime this little lick that we got going for it too. Here we go. So you're in 3/4. Same thing we did with the first one, those ghost notes. You're going to fill in A, B, C, or D. The first one, that's all it is, right? Here we go. Easy. Easy, easy peasy, right? So that is going to be very important in figuring out B, C, and D through this. If you don't have a good understanding of 1 and 1, it's going to be kind of difficult for you to understand B, C, and D because they're all based around that dotted quarter note check pattern, right? Let's go to B. So this, we're going to play all in the right hand. So just the first time. Let's do that. Okay, and if you don't or are not familiar, you know how to play it, but you're not familiar with the count of what these are, you gotta know the count structure. There's a lot of people that, oh yeah, I can play it, and they can play it, but they don't know how to count it, so they're not quite as comfortable with it. So it is 1, and E. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E, and 1, right? 1 and E, boom. That leads you back to the downbeat, right? So we're going to put on pattern, on B, we're going to put variation 2 now. So we're going to go, what you'll notice is that 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and boom. Doesn't change through all 4 bars, right? Here we go. 1, 2. Okay, another pattern you can do for this one, you can do piano, but we're going to skip ahead. We're going to do pattern 4. We're going to do 16th note 3s on all of these dotted 8th notes, right? So if you're playing part of the book and it just has, like, I don't know, some doubles, and then you go into 3s, the sticking for this is going to be right, 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 left, 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 right, 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 left, left, left. But the pattern is going to follow this hand speed. 1, and E, boom. So really quick, let's just do pattern B again. No 3s, and let's alternate and make sure that we're nailing 1, and E, downbeat. Here we go. Before we put the 3s in. Go ahead and add the 3s in now. Don't let that hand speed change. 1, and E, boom. 2, here we go. All 4 bars. Nice and even. Cool. Now we got that. Let's go on to pattern C. Now pattern C, like we said, is derived off of pattern A. You have that dotted quarter note feel. 1, 2, and 3, 1. So what this is basically saying is you're fitting 4 eighth notes in the space of 3. If you count 3 eighth notes, 1 and 2, you end on the and, right? So you're fitting 4 notes in the space of 3. So if you play 4, this should be the and. So you're going to end on the and. Thus why it's important to understand A. First one you play, right? So let's go ahead and do this one just for understanding's sake. You guys can mess with the variations later. We're going to do pattern C with variation 2. What you'll notice is this dotted quarter note, the accent doesn't change. Try it. Again. Okay, and it's also important to note that pattern B, if you played the right hand and you just filled in the left hand, this is pattern C. Right? So the sticking, if you stuck pattern B and just filled it in, your right hand would be 1, and E. 1, and E, boom. Cool? Kind of a cool little trick, right? So let's go ahead and fill it in. Let's do, again, the accent every dotted quarter note. And think about your right hand as well. That is dotted eighth notes. Here we go. 1, 2, same thing. Last time. Cool. Now let's go ahead and let's add the tap roll. Just for now, let's make sure that we're really comfortable with. It's usually a little bit more difficult when you start taking out those anchors, right? So let's use those anchors and then just fill it in with the roll, right? Give it a shot. Yeah. Okay, and it is good to note too, because we're in 3/4, every other bar is going to start off the right foot. So you got to make sure once you get to the pattern, you're really comfortable with playing that pattern off of the opposing foot, right? Let's go on to pattern D. So now, same thing as we said before with the 4/3, you're going to put 5 over the space of 3. Okay, so this one is a little more difficult because you don't have that right hand check. The 1, and E. All you got to know is this is a little bit quicker than the 4/3, right? So you just got to push. Let's go ahead and do the same thing we did. Dotted quarter notes. And let's just take 1 5/3. Now let's go to count 1. Right there, that left foot. Let's make sure we end on our left foot. 1, 2. Here we go again. 1, 2. Nice. Now repeat it. go. Cool. Now let's go ahead and start adding these variations on. Let's go ahead and add the tap roll. Here we go. Gotta move. Again. Last time. Okay, so that one is pretty quick, right? That I would liken that to almost playing 9-stroke rolls. It's very similar, right? So you just got to make sure when you get to that 5/3 pattern, you got to move, right? So I'm going to leave it up to you guys to mess around with the variations on this one. They're pretty cut and dry. It's pretty easy. Once you get comfortable with it, take out those anchors. And then the 5/3. Right? You'll notice that it's a very direct change once you get from into that, similar to, like I said, the 9-stroke rolls. Right? So make sure, again, once you get rid of those anchors, you have to know that first double that you play has got to be different, right? I really hope this helped. If you approach this correctly, the modulations little lick that's in this as well, you guys should have no problem playing this, right? Remember, if you can't play it, you got to be able to slow it down. You have to slow it down and strive to learn it. You have to learn it. Don't just play it. Play it with your feet, play it correct, and make great sounds. Great job, guys.